In this episode of the Let's Talk About Life podcast, we discuss the difference between content and art, our thoughts on Gary Vaynerchuk,
and try to answer the very difficult question of, is quality or quantity the better option? I'm Harrison.
And I'm Ameer, and we believe that one of life's most valuable assets is the gift of conversation.
In the midst of life, sometimes we forget the true power of a deep, meaningful conversation.
So take a breath, come join us,
and let's talk about life.
So, as the title suggests, our opening question, quality or quantity? Take it away, Harrison.
Yeah, well, we're gonna jump right off the bat with this is the first episode that, if you're watching the video, that we've done. We got multiple angles. We've got different camera angles. Hey.
Hi.
So I think that that answers our question right off the bat here.
Yep.
We're definitely into the quality. At least the two of us. And but we've got some thoughts on this. I think it's a really interesting topic, and I wanted to bring it up because I've been thinking about it. The first person I think for both of us that comes to mind.
So let's say it together.
Gary V. If you're not familiar with who Gary V is, he runs a production company. Actually, you should explain it because I don't.
Yeah, so Gary Vaynerchuk is a serial entrepreneur. He runs VaynerMedia, which is a full-scale advertising marketing company based in New York, and that's just one of the companies. He also has like VaynerX, Vayner NFT. He's huge on social media. He's just doing a lot of things, and he is very famous and infamous for some of the things that he says pertaining to content and at what scale we need to be producing things. And actually, if you do know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, as a little aside, I actually worked for VaynerMedia. I worked for Gary for a little while this year, and so I feel like I can bring in an interesting perspective, having been someone who started off hating Gary Vaynerchuk, who grew to love him, and I still do love him. Like, I take everything he says with a grain of salt. I still do love him. And then having worked for him, having left that, I feel like I can bring a rounded perspective. But anyways, that's for later. Yeah. Continue, Harrison.
Well, you said take everything with a grain of salt, and that's my thing. Like, so I'm gonna see if I can find a video or like a little snippet or something to put in here. Cue snippet of Gary V.
The number one variable of growing your business in this room that is practical, achievable, doable, is how serious you take making content on the internet. Until you start making dozens of videos, pictures, and written articles a week, you will continue to leave an extraordinary amount of money on the table.
You get the vibe, right? Like he's very like, he has his ways and he knows that he's going to be blunt. That's him. He knows himself. He definitely knows himself. However, I personally have a little bit of a problem with, like, he's very popular, but he's always like, there's one video, and I'll see, maybe that's the one I just showed you if I could find it, where he was like you need to be posting at least 7 TikToks a day to like blow up. And this is his thing. And since we're talking about quality over quantity, it's why we're bringing him up, because he's very much like, the more you fail, the better you'll do. But posting 7 TikToks a day, which I want to get Ameer to talk about in a second, is unattainable. And when you're doing that, let's say that, for example, or let me reel it back a little bit. Real funny joke. Is, let's go with YouTube. Okay. Ameer and I both make YouTube videos. Ameer's been doing it a little longer, and you were more consistent with it for a while. We're both trying to do about once a week for a while, right? 1 video a week, which is like cool. If you do any research on, let's say, the YouTube algorithm or like how to grow your channel, it's like consistency, right? Keep making videos. Some are gonna suck. Fine, that's how life works, right? And then you'll figure out your flow, whatever. However, what I found, and Ameer also found, and then we're gonna talk about this, is that like when you're trying to pump out 1 a week, the quality is less. And I think, contrary to Gary V's belief and a lot of the I don't know, like short form video content culture at the moment, it's all like more. The more you can make, the better it is, the better of a quote unquote content creator you are, right? So now that's where that term comes into play also, which I don't align with, because then it's like you are focused on creating content. I recently have been referring to myself as an artist. It's the word I like. And I've been exploring that. Like, what does that mean to me? What does it mean to be an artist? to bring art to life into the world. And I don't think that you can bring high quality art into the world by pumping out a video every week or 7 TikToks a day. I think that the quality will fail. And I think long term, we're talking long term, like YouTube's probably going to be around for a while, right? TikTok may dip down. Long term, the better quality videos, if Ameer puts out, a video, just put out a new video, it's super high quality. It's like a mini short film. It's 9 minutes, right? It's like a 9-minute short film. If you would have just thrown that together, it may not like stand the test of time, but a good piece of art will stand the test of time. And that's why I think that quality is more important than quantity. And that's where I'm at. Now it's your turn. Let's go.
Totally. I agree with a lot of the things that you said, and I also disagree on some points, just a little bit. But I think I'm definitely with you on the same page here. Where to start?
I know.
I think I'll go to the weekly content thing. Yeah, for a while at the start of the year, I said I would make a new YouTube video every single week and upload it on Friday. But that, I mean, I did that for like, what, 4 or 5 months? But I very knowingly had to sacrifice quality for that. I knew that I wasn't shooting to my fullest potential in terms of my editing, in terms of my writing, in terms of my delivery. I knew that I had to cut corners. And as an artist, knowing that you're cutting corners isn't the most gratifying feeling. Knowing that you're shooting below your potential just to meet an arbitrary metric in order to appease some intangible algorithm, it's unsatisfying as a creative. But then on the flip side, it's also part of the game. It's also part of the game that we're playing.
Yeah.
And I think someone who summed up my thoughts on this, or someone who said something that I really like about this topic, is Struthless. So
is this from that what's the video called? Is this the internet
the
video?
problem with the internet that no one is talking about.
Everybody needs to watch
also
this video. Yeah.
So good. So good. I love it. I sent it to Harrison like, what, 2 times?
It's incredible.
2, 3 times.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, if I'm parsing it, or maybe I should just cut it in myself. Just put it here because I feel like
we
you
can
can
just
say
plop
it better.
it in. We can just plop it in.
By calling art content, our art is given a very specific purpose. Serve the algorithm set out by a handful of tech companies. Instead of creative exploration, these algorithms reward art that seek and hold attention. This is because this attention is the product that these media companies are selling. It's how they make money. Over time, by very much intentional design, the art becomes formulaic.
The problem with calling art content is that it forces it into kind of this pigeonholed role. It needs to appease the algorithm. It needs to grab attention. Because the primary goal of content is to grab attention, right? Because attention is what the platform monetizes. Attention is how Facebook, is how Zuckerberg makes his money, right? But the purpose of art isn't always to grab attention. In fact, it's often not to grab attention. It's to bring you, well, it depends on what it is. So I can't give a blanket answer, but generally it's something usually thoughtful, something that kind of you need to sit with for a little bit, something that evokes an emotion, requires and challenges the recipient of that art. I think good art challenges the recipient to think about it, right? But then when we force our videos, our creations, all these things that we do into this role of having to grab attention, then the platform morphs it into something that it wasn't originally intended to be. And that's not always a bad thing. That's not always a bad thing. I'll say this because, you can still have great artistic content. Like, let's be clear about that. You can still have great artistic content that grabs attention, serves the purpose of the algorithm, but then also serves creative expression. And obviously it's a cop-out answer, but I think, finding that balance, and it's a deeply personal thing, because what that balance of quality versus quantity looks like to you may look different to me. I think I would, after just conversations, having worked at VaynerMedia and having, spoken to Heinz and other creators as well, I definitely do lean a little bit more towards the quantity group. Just a touch more, but I still believe in quality. If you can get both together, fantastic.
Yeah.
But instead of quantity, I would more so say consistency.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. So it's not about 7 TikToks a day.
Right.
And I did that for a little while, but it's not
How
about,
many did you do? I know you did a lot.
Yeah. I think it was like 5 to 8, something like that.
For how long? Like you were with this for a while, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 months.
Isn't
I'd say.
Oh my god. So how was
2020.
what but what was that we've talked about it, but what
Mhm.
was that experience
Mhm.
like? What were you trying to reach? What happened when you got there? And how did it affect your personal life outside of TikTok?
Mm. Ooh, you asking the good questions. Oh, I
Ameer's
don't think I've
TikTok is in the show notes, by the way, everybody, if you want to see. So
don't
he's got go check out Ameer like a couple years ago.
Oh my gosh. I haven't posted for the last 2 years on there.
Yeah, so tell it. I just think
Wow.
this is a really interesting what's the word? Like case study on this topic because you literally did it.
Multiple yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This is I don't think I've ever actually talked about it in depth like this, dude. Thank you for asking.
A little bit. I think you've mentioned it.
Yeah,
but
I've
you
mentioned
haven't
it, but
gone
I haven't
into
really
we've talked about
unpacked
it,
it.
but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Where do I start? So I started doing that at the start of 2020. So January 2020. This is just after I had done probably the grindiest month of my life, which was December. And I was putting out. Actually, no, let's take it even further back. So before I was being consistent on TikTok, I was being super consistent on Instagram.
Okay.
This is for the last quarter of 2019. Here's what I was doing. So I was putting together a show. I was also putting together an EP. So a show, an EP, while at the same time posting a beat every day on Instagram.
Not just posting them, you had to make those.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
making a beat and a video every day for Instagram. So EP, full show. So I need to plan out the production, the everything, because I was doing it from the ground up, and then also that beat a day thing. And that was the grindiest, most difficult month of my life, but I enjoyed it. I really liked it. That's where I was at the time, and I liked the grind. I like that kind of thing. But when it came to making a beat every day, it was such a fun challenge. It was such a fun challenge trying to come up with something new every day. And I kind of willingly knew that it wouldn't be perfect, but I'd be making progress. And so I got better at making beats faster.
Right.
I got better at making beats faster. And so when I ended the challenge, because it got a little too much for me to bear, obviously, when I went back to make beats just on my own timeline, they were so much better. The pressure of consistency, of having to create something and pump it out every single time, like every single day, helped make me better. So when I go back to perhaps a normal scenario, a normal routine, a normal pace, the beats were much higher quality. So I think quantity can create quality. It's kind of like putting in the reps.
Yes.
It's difficult.
Sure.
You gotta push it, and then at the end, you can rest. So there was that. And then afterwards, I moved on to TikTok, where I started doing posting 5 to 8 TikToks every single day, and it was.
What was
fun.
your intent before you go into this? What was your intent when you went into this? How many? Let's talk numbers. What was kind of your follower count before you started all this?
I have screenshots of this. We
don't need exact numbers, but
yeah. So I started off the year at, I think 5,000, 8,000 followers on TikTok.
Okay.
And my goal was to reach 100,000 by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I hit that goal by May.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I hit that goal by April.
Quick though. Yeah, real quick.
April. Yeah. So it happened really fast. So needless to say, it worked. It got results. I think there's definitely merit in posting, in being consistent, and in, pumping out as much as you can. And at the time, honestly, sometimes I talk a little down on my time about it, but honestly, I was having fun. I was really having fun. It wasn't too difficult in the sense that I was like, okay, let me just make whatever shit post I want to make today. Let me just do whatever fun meme pops into my head. And I enjoyed myself. But I think knowing that I was capable of doing more and not going for that and not realizing that was unsatisfying. It's unsatisfying as a creative to shoot below what you're capable of.
Right.
And so, wow, I'm really just trying to remember because it's kind of blurry in my head now. I think, here's what happened. So I did decide to go for quality. So I slowed down my pace a little bit around April or May. And I'm focused instead on making some high quality edited videos. So I made a video, like a mini vlog about LA. The editing was pretty great, honestly. The transitions were on point. I made a video about spending time with my mom. I made a video about how I became a vocal coach, and I like spent time editing those videos. But at the very most, they got like 30,000 views. And at the time I was getting like 500, 700,000 like on a good video, give or take. So the good quality videos at that time ended up quote unquote flopping.
So let's stay here for a second before you go on, because this is what I find really interesting, because I've had the same experience for like 8 years, however long I've been doing this. The stuff that I put the most effort into, and most, if you listen to most creatives on the internet who are really putting time into this, not Charlie D'Amelio type people, but like someone, you follow Cody Ko, like the comedian,
Totally.
So he recently made it. He's been pretty open about, he's a comedian, if you don't know who he is, on YouTube, and he's been pretty open about feeling a little down about kind of YouTube and what to do. So he's like, I'm gonna try some new things. And he was like, I was really happy with this video. And then he put out his next video, and it was something like kind of quick, that the like stupid, dumb, and that one got a lot of views, and the one before that he put a lot of time into didn't do very well. And this seems to be a consistent theme across the board with most people.
It took me a long time to make that ukulele video, like just like a week straight of filming and editing and filming and editing and filming and editing. And then it it didn't get any views, which I totally expected, because it's a different style. I understand the way that YouTube works. I get it.
I think this is an interesting topic to just stop and discuss for a second, because that's not encouraging, as someone who is making this stuff, this art. We try not to, you don't want to do it for the views, but that is a part of it. There is, if people aren't liking it, you want to also make things that they like. It's a weird balance, like you said, right? So if you're not getting like the feedback that you want, and you're like, oh, well, I love this, but nobody else did, so maybe I'm wrong. And then it makes you feel internally, now you can, debate and decide what you want to do, what's really perfect for you. But internally, it makes you feel like, at least it makes me, all I can do is talk about my experience. I feel like, was it worth it? And then it comes to the whole thing of who are you doing this for?
So feel that.
So I don't know really what to say, but it's a really interesting thing, right? So what do you think about that?
So relate. Every person I've talked to, every creative I have talked to who posts stuff on the internet, I feel that so strongly. It's not encouraging. At face value, and kind of going back to where I was at the time, it made me feel really down. It's like, wow, I'm putting all this effort into this, and people don't want it. People don't care. Whereas when I make something about like memeing Doja Cat, I was like, wow,
that's
so
what
talented.
The people want.
But I think it's easy, and it's kind of fantasy to say, just do everything for you, do everything that makes you happy, do do it all for you. But that's not the reality of being a professional creative. Part of being a professional creator means that you're making art for other people, right? Like that's the reality of it, what it is. There's creating content for other people. There is client work, perhaps. And part of being a professional is learning how to balance creating one for them and one for you. That's a John Mayer thing. He was asked about his recent album. Someone asked him, how many of the songs of the album are made for you, and how many are made for the audience? How many are made just to be hits? He said, one for me, one for them. And I think I like that a lot more, because it's a lot more realistic, right? You could go skip off into the sunset and say, I'm going to create everything for myself that scratches my own creative itch, and forever just do whatever makes you happy. And hey, if that works out, that's great. But the reality of it is, we're going to have to create stuff for other people at some point. If we're putting ourselves out there, and if we want to build an audience, that's what's required.
It makes me think of, I don't know who said it, but somebody exactly like that. It was like, if you can say as much as you want, let's say if you're posting videos on YouTube, you can say, I'm not doing it for any people. But he's like, if you're not doing it for other people, make the video and keep it on your computer and watch it whenever you want.
That's true.
Because if you're putting it out there, you're intending other people to see it. If you just made it for you, you don't need to share it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that inherently, and it's like a weird thing because it's like, okay, well, I would say, I do it for myself, but there is a part. It's both. It is both.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, part of this also, I think, though, if you say like consistency, if you stick with it long enough and try to find both, but like really focus on, let's say on TikTok, if you want to pick up TikTok, I mean, your YouTube channel is an example of it because you had a following, small following when you were just posting music stuff, right? But then you're like, that's not really what I want to do right now. I want to do this. And then you switched over and you were getting way less views. Way less people were seeing it. And the longer you stuck with it, you weeded out the people that didn't want to see it and you got new people that want to see it. So I think that like you will, if you really want to go, okay, you know what? I know that the views aren't doing good. I want to make videos about my mom, whatever. You stick with it, you will attract those people, but it takes time. But it's such a weird environment to work in as someone who like has thoughts in their mind that they want to put into the world, because you got definitely are like all these rules, and it's a game, like you said, it's a game. That's why the whole like, is it worth for what part of the game are you playing? Are you trying to gain followers to do what? Okay, do the Gary V method, post 8 million things a day, right? But then do you want to work on bettering your art personally? Then you need to focus on quality for a bit. And is there a balance? Maybe you go back and forth. I've gone back and forth between it. It's like, I don't know if there's one answer, but it's a game. It really is a game after all, which sucks, but also that's like, I mean, life's a game, I guess, really, in society, so yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's learning how to balance both. I don't think it's an either or thing. Pump out as much high quality things as you can. But this reminds me of a conversation that I had when I met Heinz. If y'all don't know, Heinz is Harrison and I's like one of our favorite YouTubers, creators. He's super chill. Once again, we'll link all of these people that we're mentioning down below. But I met up with him and I drank tea with him and I had an awesome conversation with him. And we talked about exactly this when I was asking him about quality and quantity and kind of how he stays mentally, grounded when something that he puts a lot of work into doesn't necessarily succeed. And he told me something, well, before I get there, he's definitely leaning more towards the quantity group as well. Hence why I'm skewing a little bit more in that direction. He leans a little bit more in terms of quantity because that's what's worked for him and is able to do that sustainably with the style of content that he creates. And he's able to do that weekly and, do the podcast and everything, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that he told me when it came to what we were just talking about of putting a lot of work into something and then it flops, what he said, and this changed my mind about choosing topics, about knowing what to do, about knowing what a good idea is. At the end of the day, you don't know what a good idea is. You may think that you know, but you can't travel into the future and see what succeeds. I can guarantee you the videos that have done the best for me are the ones that I never thought would do well. For example, in my case, the video of me meeting Annie for the first time, that is at like nearly, I think like 600, 700,000 views. That one got us on TV. That one, I didn't even think twice about it. I just made it for Annie. I just made it for us to look back on. But then, boom, it resonates with people. But then I put in work into something that, okay, yeah, this is really good. People are going to like this. I was wrong. At the end of the day, you don't know what's good or what's not. Only hindsight. Only hindsight will tell you. And so it's about gathering a large enough sample size. In his words, creating enough and having enough of a sample size, enough of a reference to be like, okay, I kind of know what my audience wants. Let me try out some new things. Okay, I don't know. And I think part of it, what I took away from that conversation was having the humility to admit that I don't know what's good. I can only, in the words of this one chef I saw on MasterChef, I can only cook for my own palate and hope that the judges enjoy my dish.
Yeah, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah, I cook for my palate first. I create for my vision first and hope that they like it.
Yeah.
Knowing that I don't know what's good. Once I create enough to know, then I can kind of get an idea, but even then I won't.
Yeah. I totally agree with I think the reason in this conversation I'm leaning a little more towards the quality side of things, because at this very moment, that's where I'm focusing. But I haven't always been like, I think there's stages where like I was doing it weekly and it was working, but I was kind of like getting burnt out. And I was like, the one video I spent a little extra time on, I was like, it was more fulfilling to me. And so I'm trying to figure out what works for me. So at the moment, it's like I'm trying to bring up the quality. Like the last, I'm trying to think of where this is. What came out today? 49, episode 49, whatever that is, on travel. You go check that out. It was edited a little different than previous episodes, and what?
Oh yeah, it was travel today. Wait,
Yeah,
on the YouTube channel was changed. Oh yeah, sorry.
yeah, we're a little switched. We're a little all over
gotcha.
the place.
Cool. Cool. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, no, but like I put a little extra time into that because I was like, I wanted to up the quality a little bit. It's just something's been on my mind, so that's why I'm feeling like that today. However, I do agree with you on I'm not saying that you can't. I disagree personally with the Gary V thing because again, personally, I'm trying to do many things. We've got the podcast that I'm putting together. We have to record them. I have to edit them. We got to put it out, make social clips, blah, 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 blah. YouTube videos. I'm making music. I'm also working and I've got all these different things I'm trying to do. So I can't do all of those things times 7. It's not possible. I can barely do all of them times 1. So that's why I disagree with that. But I'm totally with you that like the more you do of something, it was not very long. It was like a month and a half or 2 months, whatever. But when I did a video every week, it became easier. Like you said, like it becomes easier to figure out and then it's a little less, you put less weight on each one, which allows you to kind of let go, which is nice, which is like what you're saying. So you don't know what a good idea is. You just do it and you see what happens. You learn something from the process. So there's definitely validity in both. And I think it's fun, like exactly what you said, finding the balance between the two. And if you're a little more, I want to focus on, the quality of something, but you can't, I think it can't be the extremes is the important thing I'm trying to touch on here. And I want to know what you think, but like, I know people and I know it's common. Like if you are so focused on quality and you're like, I got to get this perfect before I put it out, but you never put anything out. Like, what was the point of it? You know what I mean? Like you can work on this forever, right? Like I've done that though. I'm like, oh, I got to work. You know what? I'm just going to put it out. Like, let's move on to the next thing. And I learned something great from this, but let's do another one. Like, because I can't make this perfect. You need to fail to, figure out, you need to fail to figure out what works, right? So, and the other way around, like you can't just focus on how many things can I put out because then there isn't a form of, there isn't good quality to it. Like it's maybe lacking intent or some of those things, right? But what are your thoughts on that? Like, I think, have you ever been there where you're like, you focus on something?
Totally, dude. I'm literally there right now.
you never put it out.
That's me right now. Not necessarily with videos, but with music. I have a song that I have been sitting on for the last 2 years that I'm just tweaking to perfection.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm definitely there. I want to get it just right. I want it to be perfect, but perfect is unattainable. And I know I should just get it done anyway. Though, like, I completely agree. On the flip side, my argument for quantity, and I'm not saying that they're mutually exclusive. I think the benefit of quantity, like focusing on that, is that it drives improvement faster.
Yes.
In the sense that iterations drive improvement. How many times can you iterate something? Okay, so this is this video. Okay, let me make another one. Okay, make another one. You get good at making them over and over and over, right? Speeding up the process instead of, oh, yes, it reminds me of, here's a perfect anecdote for this. It's the story of the professor and the pottery class or the photography class. It's told either as pottery or photography. Basically, there's a professor and he divides his class into 2 groups. One group, he asks to, actually, for both groups, their project at the end of 30 days is to create the best possible pot, right? To create the most nice looking, beautiful vase, pot, whatever it is. Group A, he says, okay, I want you to spend the entire month just trying to make one absolutely perfect pot. Group B, he asks, I want you to make a pot every single day. And according to the story, and it's told many times, Group B, the ones who made a pot every single day, even though it wasn't perfect, were the ones who ultimately, objectively, had the better quality pots at the end of the day. Because while Group A was trying to focus on fidgeting and like, oh, what makes the perfect pot and pontificating about it, Group B was iterating, failing.
Right.
And I think in a way, by making things that are quote bad quality, we learn what to fix next time.
Exactly.
And over time, quality gets better. Let's go in a different direction. Let's talk about Gary Vaynerchuk. What are your thoughts? And first of all, before we even get into this, I'm just going to clarify: no hate at all. No hate.
Yeah.
No hate.
No. We're not hating. I think he's done wonderful things.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
He talks. He walks. Whatever it is, walks the walk. Like he does what he says, and I give him complete credit for that. Like he says that he's gonna do something or blah blah. Like he does what he puts his mind to, and he's definitely knows what he's doing. I think it can be easy when anybody, doesn't matter if it's him, you get to a certain level, people can blindly follow you without thinking. And I think that's where there's a problem. That's not on him. That's on his followers. And this could go for celebrities. This can go for literally anybody. Where it's easy to just go, well, everybody goes with him. Everybody, he knows what he's doing, so I'm just going to do it and not have this conversation we're having. And I think to tie it into one thing I want to say, maybe we can move forward in a sec, but I guess maybe my issue with quantity, because I totally agree with everything you just said, and I've experienced it. The more I started making music videos, and I was like 14. They were terrible. But if I hadn't started at 14, I wouldn't be where I am because I messed up and I failed so many times. It's so the more you do of something, you mess up, whatever you learn. I think my problem with it is that there's not that itself, the culture around it on the internet. I think that's that's a separate thing. And I think that I haven't separated those, because I agree with what you're saying. But then if we go into the you can be quote unquote successful as like a TikTok or whatever, and just like, oh yeah, I can do 15 videos a day, and then okay, all of a sudden you've got 15 million followers and whatever. But it's like, but what are you how are you impacting the world? You're lip syncing to the new trend or whatever. Like there's no substance. Maybe that's it. I think my problem with the quantity culture is that it lacks intent and substance and depth. You know what I mean? Which is what I think that you can have both. I think that you can put out stuff regular, but on average, definitely TikTok specifically, that whole app is there is, it's nothing. It literally is like an app of nothing. There's no, every once in a while you'll find some people that are using it well, but most people aren't, and that's my problem with it. So I think that people, if they don't think, Gary's definitely not one of those people. He definitely has thought about this stuff and he would know. But I think it's easier for people to follow that and not think about it. So, yeah, I unfollowed him. I used to hate him. Okay, I think a lot of people are like this. People hate him.
Of course, right? That's how we all start.
And I was like, we're gonna give him a chance. I followed Gary for a while, and I watched all his stuff. And I, instead of going who is this guy? What does he know? I was like, I'm gonna think about what he's saying. Let me explore what his thoughts are and learn about him. And I was like, he definitely is in the position to share what he's sharing. He knows a lot. I think he is really a good person at heart. And that in itself taught me to if you don't like something, sit with it, figure out why you don't like it. And I think I didn't like it because he was right and I didn't agree with it. I couldn't get on board with it for a lot of things. And then I was like, I had enough Gary because he posts so much, so I don't follow him anymore. But that's my thoughts on him. And that was a little tangent on I don't know, short form video culture.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, once again, it comes to the distinction between art and content, right? Content, once again, is to serve the algorithm, it's to grab attention. Art requires depth, thoughtfulness, and it challenges the viewer, the recipient of that art. And it's important to distinguish between the two. I wouldn't say, TikTok is definitely content, not necessarily art. And that's how I was approaching it as well. But the way I approach my YouTube videos, it's art fully. And I think you can have both. Once again, that's what I'm saying. My thoughts on Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, tell me.
I think he is one of the most misunderstood people on the face of the planet. I think at face value, lots of people, we start off hating him. We think, oh my God, this guy is full of crap. He's just trying to sell me something. And then, many people just write him off and immediately assume that, oh, he is this definition of hustle culture. He's super toxic productivity, all this kind of stuff. And I see videos like that. We talked about it when I was at VaynerMedia. I won't be sharing confidential stuff, of course. But, when I was at VaynerMedia, that's something that we talked about, managing that perception that he is something that he is not. Because I see a lot of videos where people are bashing him for saying, Gary Vaynerchuk says that you should be working, 16, 20 hours a day, grinding your face off, that kind of stuff. No. If you dig into the nuance of what he's saying,
he doesn't say that.
First and fundamentally, it's are you happy? It starts off with, are you happy with your life? And I feel qualified enough to say this because I edited videos for him and I've been a fan of his for the last 4 years. So fight me. Okay? The first thing, I feel so passionately about this. Okay?
Yeah.
So the first thing is he asks, are you happy? If you're happy with your life, great. Don't listen to him. You've won. Because happiness is the metric first and foremost. Right? The second thing he asks, are you complaining? Are you unhappy with where you're at? Okay, if you're complaining, here's how you do it. Gratitude, perspective, patience. And if you want the tangible practicalities of how to do it, this is how I've done it. This is what works for me. And he's talking about what's made him happy because he's built different. He likes that kind of life. He likes that kind of work really. He likes that kind of grinding aspect to it. And that's what makes him happy. Right? He's not saying that you need to do this, you need to do that. No, he's just sharing what's worked for him. Right? And I heard him say once, he knows that people think that he is sleep 3 hours a day, grind for 25 hours. He knows that people think he's that. And he says that he's genuinely not necessarily sad or upset. Well, he doesn't like that because he's been made to be an idol for something that he doesn't believe in his own words. He's made to be an idol for something he doesn't necessarily believe in when it comes to hustle culture and toxic productivity. For some reason, people plaster his name all over it and put his face right there. But that's not something that he believes in. Do what makes you happy first. And he's sharing what's made him happy. And it is, that kind of grind set, shall we say. But, I think it requires self-awareness, which is the first thing that he always says. Self-awareness.
That's what I'm saying. He's probably the most self-aware dude on the internet. Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like lots of the people that I see who are bashing him and are taking whatever soundbite at face value haven't taken the time to actually understand the nuance of what he is saying when it comes to perspective, when it comes to patience, when it comes to self-awareness, when it comes to gratitude, all these things, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can apply that to anybody, right? Anybody out there that's just even anybody you meet. You really need to dig to fully understand that. But to tie it into what we were talking about, I did use that was the Gary V technique because he does talk about posting a lot. And I know it works. That's why everybody knows who he is.
Exactly.
That's his thing. And that is, like you said, it's fun. For me, this is fun. We're doing this right now. It's fun. Making music is fun. For him, working is fun, right? So and that is true. And I've noticed that that was what I didn't like. I was like, no, I don't want to work all the time. It's well, that's not fun for me. But for him, that's his hobby. Building businesses from the ground up is his hobby.
Building businesses is my hobby.
Yeah. That should be the thumbnail of this.
There
it's
you
just
go.
Us with the 5.
Yeah. I can do if I were if this podcast weren't supposed to be as clean as it is, I could do a great Gary impression.
He's so funny.
You gotta have perspective.
Anyway, yeah, I think this is a really good conversation. And it's we can't even tackle everything in this whatever 40 minutes. But it seems like we both come to that perspective. We have a little bit of different thought, but we're pretty much on the same page, right? I think there's both. I guess it really comes down to if you are one of these people, what is important to you is being in every essence of the term, a content creator. Is that your thing? You just want to make stuff, whatever it is, and have people know who you are? Or are you an artist? And those things entail different, versions of the quality versus quantity and on that spectrum and balance, right? So It's really interesting to think about.
I think the answer, self-awareness.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to support the show, make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Visit us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Talk About Life Pod, and for more information, head on over to harrisonkingofficial.com/podcast. Now it's time for you to get out there and have a deep, meaningful conversation in your own life.